And you're welcome back. It is not enough to plant trees, tackle illegal mining, deforestation, and mark out forest belts in every city across the country. Well, that's the advice from the German ambassador, Daniel Goru, to the government of Ghana as the country marks the Green Ghana nationwide tree planting exercise today. Ghana is seeking to reverse a possible sanction flowing from the new European Union law on deforestation, which will make it impossible for cocoa to be sold in the European market unless the supplier certifies that the produce does not come from a deforested land. However, given Ghana's heightened levels of illegal mining activities, there are fears that the country and the main cash crop that we have, cocoa, may be heavily impacted. Speaking of after a tree planting exercise at the German Embassy Gardens earlier today, Daniel Goru, the ambassador, says illegal mining should not be allowed to prevail in the country, as he is asking the government of Ghana to live up to expectation in tackling the menace.
Ghana Green Day, a very important initiative with regard to forestry. We are happy here to welcome you at the German Embassy in Accra. We decided to follow the call of the President, who encouraged all missions present here in this beautiful country of Ghana to join him and to the country in planting a tree on Ghana Green Day 2023. So we are very happy here to join this very important initiative. It's important in the context of climate change, which is affecting Africa and all continents around the world. And it is becoming a bigger challenge every day. We all know that Africa contributed rather little to this very tremendous phenomenon. But at the same time, the impact of climate change is very heavy. But there are also ways we here in living on the African continent can contribute to fight the climate change, and planting tree is one small step, and we need all steps possible. Of course, there's planting trees and there's also deforestation. We also need to join forces in fighting deforestation in the country and to preserve the natural reserves of any country. In this context, I'm very happy that a very eminent person of this country accepted my invitation to join me here today. And I'm very happy that Professor Boateng, a known fighter for environmental protection in this country, is joining me here today. And there's another reason I'm very happy that Professor Boateng is here with us today. And that is because I believe strongly that he is a very, very important role model for all young Ghanaians. The other day I was at Kumasi and KNUST University, and I was asked, you know, whom can you think of when you would like to suggest a role model for Ghanaians? And I think Professor Boateng is certainly one of them. And the reason why I do think that is because all his achievements in his lifetime were merit-based and based on his own competences and willingness. So it's about being ambitious and work hard to make your ambitions come true and reality. And with this, I would like to encourage all Ghanaians to follow that example. And there's another reason, and that is the fact that Professor Boateng, after studying and working, researching in Germany, decided to come back to Ghana and to serve his country. And that is such an important element to what we call the brain circulation. Now, these days, we are living in a global world, and it's about circulating the brains all around the globe. And this can be very, very beneficial to Ghana. So I again would like to invite all young, ambitious Ghanaians to follow this example and reach out and aim high. The challenges of climate change are putting a lot of pressure on all countries, on all people, on all governments around the world. And I'm not hiding the fact that even though Germany has very ambitious objectives and aims, we are by no means the ones who are always reaching at the objectives we have set ourselves. So I think it is important to set ambitious aims and objectives, but that also might include the possibility of failure. But at least we have to try hard. Time is running short for all of us on this beautiful planet. As I said, we have challenges in Europe. Europe has been one of the major contributors to the emissions, of course with others. So we have to of course, take the largest burden. So in this context, there are of course also very many challenges in Ghana. We are offering our support in the framework of our development cooperation, and we hope that Ghana will live up to its own objectives. You mentioned the EU regulations on forestry and deforestation. That's what I heard is being discussed a lot in the cocoa sector, and I understand there are some areas that might be affected and might to have to find an answer to that. But I mean that's the idea of this regulation, to try to have an impact on the deforestation, which we need to stop. I mean, it's not enough to plant trees. We need both. We need planting trees, identifying areas for forestry, not only on the countryside, but also in the urban areas, very, very important for recreational areas, as mentioned by Prof earlier. And so we need these designated areas for forestation, and we need this action against deforestation. And I hope this government will live up to its own aims in this regard. You said it is illegal mining, so if it's illegal, then it shouldn't take place. So in a country that is based on rule like Ghana, then illegal activities should be stopped.
Well, so as we mark the Green Ghana Day, the German government has decided to honor former chair of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, Professor Frimpong Boateng, for his dedication towards tackling climate change. The former government appointee who today joined the Germans for a ceremonial tree planting exercise at the ambassador's residence added his voice to the need for an end to the issues of deforestation and the menace of illegal mining.
As you know, I'm very fascinated about the environmental situation in Germany. And when you invited me, I reminded you about the things that I learned or saw. In every German city, you find a belt of forest linking various suburbs of the city. For example, in Germany, you could walk from, say, Adabraka to the central business district, across to Osu or somewhere, all through forests that have been laid in every city. So everywhere is cool and is very commendable. You find young and old cycling, jogging, and at times walking off into some restaurants that are established in these forest areas. And so this is something that I wish that we could do in Ghana, planting trees, maintaining our forests, and then leaving gardens in our towns and our cities so that people could go there for recreation and for health reasons. Sometimes in Ghana, if a forest or a green area is left, they say, oh, why are you wasting the land? We should go and build there. No, it's not a waste. Because I always say that the trees are our pharmacy. The plants give us the drugs that we use. 25% of all drugs we use in the hospitals are plant-based, are from plants. At the same time, the trees give us the oxygen we breathe, and then they take the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. So in a way, the trees are our lungs. And again, most of the food that we eat are from plants and trees. So the trees are our supermarket. So anytime we are planting a tree, we know we are establishing a supermarket, a pharmacy, or our lungs. A question, whether Ghana is going to be sanctioned by the international community for our failure to meet the targets. I'm not afraid of sanctions from our partners. But the difficulties that we are going to have ourselves, when we destroy our water bodies, we destroy the forest, we are no longer able to use the water, we are losing our biodiversity, people will be getting sick from pollution. Those things alone will be enough sanctions on us. And these are the things that we have to stop so that we don't sanction ourselves with sanctions that will find it very difficult to meet, to meet and solve. So let's not be afraid of sanctions from human beings, but the sanctions that we impose on ourselves because of the wrong things that we do. So thank you very much for that question. Very appropriate.
And of course, as we mark the Green Ghana Day, we understand the president is making a statement giving an assurance that his government will tackle the challenge at hand. But I want to bring in now Environmental Conservation Group, the group called the Eco-Conscious Citizens, who are boycotting the Green Ghana Day today for reasons the group points to as government's lack of commitment towards ensuring that we keep up the support for our forest reserves across the country. Awolasewa, thank you for joining us. She's the coordinator for the group. You've been monitoring government's attempt to plant, I guess it's 5 million trees today, just to shore up the numbers that were added a couple of, years back. Looking at what's happening today, are you certain that, first of all, government will meet the target of planting some 5 million more trees?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Our focus today is looking at what we really want to achieve. We have existing forests. Thank you very much for bringing in Professor Frimpong Boateng, yes, the German ambassador. They said it all. We have our existing trees. We know there's deforestation. So the idea is to increase the number of trees. If we're really serious in doing that, why would we have the EI, which declassifies parts of Achimota Forest? And also a very perverse legislation, which could make it possible to mine in even globally significant biodiversity areas. So long as these laws that are contributing to deforestation are not revoked, the whole exercise of planting trees is like just the plane to the gallery. There's no serious commitment about it, and we will not be part of anything that, frankly, is a waste of our time.
We'll talk about the reason why you're boycotting the Green Ghana Day today, but initially I was talking about 5 million trees that government intends to plant. Actually, it's much more higher than that number, 10 million trees, we understand. The success rate last year, according to the Deputy Minister, is the fact that 70% of the seedlings, made it. So you were pointing out the other time that the seedlings, some of them did not make it. Goats were munching on some of the seedlings, but government is very certain that 70% of them succeeded. Hence the need to show up the numbers to 10 million this time round. It's good news, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what information they have. All I can point out is to what I saw and what was reported to me. For example, the trees that were not fenced and that, yes, goats were munching on. It was a report we received. And I personally went to a local assembly and I saw some trees that had withered. So I'm not saying that I have all the information, but this is what government tells us. So be it.
I see. Professor Frimpong Boateng joining the German ambassador to make that clarion call for us to have forest belts. You are the experts in this field. What's the advantage to this of having a green belt in every city? Because, for instance, Professor Barton was talking about the fact that that's what you find in Germany, and he wants us to implement that as well. What's the significance, by the way?
Well, I mean, I think he said it all. We know the importance of green belts. We've talked about our lungs. We talked about pure air for us to breathe. We also know that, trees also help with what shall I say, with floods. Mm-hmm. And then we also talked about the pharmacy that they provide because of the trees, the barks. They could be used for so many different health products. But at the heart of the matter is that what he's saying happens in Germany. It happens in civilized countries. Even in Ghana, you're supposed to have a park at every settlement. You should have one at Cantonment, one at Nima, one at Laboni. If you look at the original plans of Ghana, that's what we had. But over the years, we've just built on all our parks. And in fact, had it not been for our intervention, you would not have parks and gardens. The Ministry of Local Government had wanted to build a multi-story office building on parks and gardens land. And thankfully, eco-conscious citizens and partners and public-spirited Ghanaians were able to put an end to this, since parks and gardens is still there. So there again, we look at commitments, which does not seem to be there.
I see, but then that's why government is shoring up the numbers by planting more trees on Green Ghana Day, and yet you find eco-conscious groups such as yours not participating in the exercise. It's not patriotic, is it?
Well, I think it's not patriotic to engage in exercises which are not backed by any commitment. What would we say is that we believe in planting trees. We can plant trees every day. And we've always said that Green Ghana is an excellent initiative. All we are saying is that it's something that should be all year round, the commitment. On a particular day or days, you can plant trees, and that's a laudable thing to do. But it must be followed by commitment. Because as I keep on saying, you can't with one hand be showing the public face of planting trees, and then with the other hand, perverse laws are passed which are destroying our forest reserves and making it possible to mine in forest reserves. How committed are you? So in fact, it's actually unpatriotic to engage in activities that give the wrong impression that you're interested in climate change, you're interested in planting trees, when on the other hand, you are supervising the destruction of our forest reserves.
And the president, but the president is making a statement on that. He's assuring that he'll tackle illegal mining head on. Not the first time he's making the promise, though.
Well, you see, let's be very blessed. Let's be very frank here. If you want to tackle, you see, it's not just illegal mining. Some of it is not even illegal. It's what I would call environmental terrorism. It's taking place and it's destroying our landscape. But the government itself, through its actions, I can say is also involved. If you have a government that is supervising the declassification of Achimota Forest Reserve, you have a government that has passed LI, let me get it straight for you, LI 2462, which is making it possible to mine in our forest reserves, which is even saying that in Section 3.2, that you can mine in a globally significant biodiversity area if the government, the president gives approval in writing and believes it's in the national interest. How can this be? So I'm saying that the planting of trees is not something that appears to be backed by any commitment. It's something we're just going through on a particular day, and then it's business as usual. Let's go on destroying our forest reserves. We cannot accept this. And this is why we are saying that we are still planting trees. We don't have to wait for 9th June to plant trees. But we are saying that if the government is serious, then the LI 2462 should be rescinded. It's a perverse law, and it's going to destroy our forest reserves.
And even at the international level, we're not making progress in contributing to the UN SDGs, which is just 7 years away from meeting the agenda. But beyond that as well, there's also, on the other hand, the issue about making our main cash crop, cocoa, to enter the EU markets. The new law on deforestation will make it tough for us, isn't it? The fact that we have heightened levels of illegal mining. Do you feel that we can surmount these challenges?
Well, if we begin a serious fight, of course we can. If we begin a serious fight yesterday, of course we can. The challenge is that I'm not quite sure there's any fights going on. I'm not sure there's any fight going on. We saw what happened with Akonta mining. The directors are still walking free. It's rather Professor Frimpong Boateng, the irony of it all, who was arrested and thankfully bailed. The person who has shown us what is going on is rather the person who has been.
And sorry for cutting in. And sorry for cutting in on that point. But I mean, you're not the only one making the point. The German ambassador also pointing out that, quote, Professor Boateng should be a role model when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. Are you not, and by extension, I'm talking about you, the German ambassador, those in CSO, are you not jumping to the defense of someone who should be open to investigation?
We're not jumping to anybody's defense. I mean, what he's done in the past, I think he's a role model, even setting up the cardiothoracic center. He could have stayed in Germany, or he could just have come and built apartment blocks. But he thought of the nation and he built a cardiothoracic center. I cannot speak for anything else, but I can say that for me, he's a role model. By all means, the government should conduct it, or whoever is conducting the investigation should carry on. But I'm saying that it's very, very strange that all this time, the documentary that Joy News did, I always get the title wrong, but I believe
Distraction for Gold.
Distraction for Gold.
Yes.
Have there been any arrests? So let's ask ourselves why the good professor was arrested. But by all means, conduct your investigations, and the truth has a way of coming out in the long run. Okay.
And so the future of Green Ghana, we scrap it or we review?
Well, we've said that Green Ghana itself is a brilliant initiative. But what we are saying is that let's be honest, let's be transparent. Let's rescind LI 2462, which is making it possible to mine in our forest reserves. If you are greening Ghana, and let's be clear, our forest reserves, our forests have been there before you and I were born, before our parents were born, have been there for decades. When we plant a tree today, how long is it going to take to reach maturity? So let's be serious. We are supposed to be adding to our trees, not destroying the existing forest reserves we have. And believe you me, if we don't rescind this law, we'll have a more serious situation than we have now. When we see the forests being devastated, it may not just be the so-called illegal miners. It may be people who actually have licenses. Information reaching us is that quite a number of organizations have licenses to mine in forest reserves as we speak. So when you're busy planting trees, it's like a gimmick. I'm sorry to use that word, but it's like a gimmick. There doesn't appear to be any commitment. And let me be very, very clear. When we look at mining, it's a false accounting when we say that we're making 1.2 billion. Because if we put that vis-a-vis the health impacts that we are having, kidney disease, birth defects, deaths, and so on and so forth, we look at the pharmacies we are destroying, we look at the forest, which is supposed to purify our air, the lungs we are removing. What benefit is it at all, apart from the few individuals who might be benefiting? But as a nation, the cocoa farmers whose farms are being destroyed for when mining licenses are being given, what benefit is it to them? So what I'm saying is that we have to rethink of the forest as an asset, not just as a place where you can get timber or minerals. It's an asset. Just a carbon sink can bring in money. Tourism, coming to see the beautiful forest. It's a health environment where you sit in the forest and meditate. And those of us who claim to be Christians, ask yourselves why God puts us in the Garden of Eden and not in the Garden of Concrete, because he knows the benefits to our well-being of our forests and green places.
Okay, I will ask as coordinator of the Eco-Conscious Citizens. Thank you for your time. We're still on Green Ghana because the environmental conservation organization Arocha Ghana is also pushing for government to revoke the Environmental Protection Regulation 2023 LI 2462, which enables the president to allow mining in globally significant biodiversity areas. Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, Darrell Bosso, says the new LI doesn't specify the exact percentage of land that can be leased to small-scale miners, a gap which they feel is problematic.
As we speak, we have environmental protection, mining in forest reserves. There is no limitations. Now, this one is all forest reserves. While the 2018, so the LI in mining in production forest reserves was updated somehow in 2018. And while the 2018 LI or guideline that preceded the LI allowed a maximum of 2% of all production areas of forest reserves to be mined. The new regulation have no such restriction. So the previous guideline on environmental guidelines in production forest reserves only allowed for 2% of all existing production forest reserves to be mined. The current LI that has been passed, 2462, has no restrictions as to the size of an area of a forest that can be mined. Consequently, after the LI was passed, mining permits covering large portions of forest reserves have been granted, including Nkrabea Forest Reserve, Boyne Tunnel Forest Reserve, Anriasu East and Tunnel Anria Forest Reserves. Now, the 2018 environmental guidelines excluded globally significant biodiversity areas, what we call GSBAs, such as Tunnel Ofin and Atiwa Forest, from any mining or exploration. Under the new LI, however, the president can actually approve mining in these uniquely critical areas if it is, as they say, is in the national interest.
Well, meanwhile, the National Director of Youth Alliance for Green Ghana, Kenneth Ejew, is calling on government to sanction persons engaging in illegal mining activities. He explained that Ghanaians will not benefit from the Green Ghana initiative if government fails to sanction persons destroying the environment.
As we commemorate Green Ghana Day today and go out to plant 10 million trees, we ask, as the youth of this country, how will the good people of Ghana benefit from the Green Ghana project if we continue to destroy existing forests and green spaces? As the younger generation, in trust for whom our environment and resources are held by the president and our leaders, we demand immediate action from the government to put an end to this environmental catastrophe. One, we call on the government to enforce the laws, the many laws that have been enacted that regulate mining activities in the country, and crack the whip on those who flout them, even such persons within the government, in demonstration of this government's real commitment to greening Ghana beyond the Green Ghana Day project.
The fight is on. I want to bring in Director of Arucha Ghana, Darryl Bosu, who's joining us via Zoom now. Thank you, sir, for your time. The target is 10 million trees, and yet we're having that challenge of deforestation also going on. A couple of minutes ago, we're just playing that sound from the German embassy, together with the Professor Frimpong Boateng, who was then chairing the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining. It appears that there are still challenges when it comes to our fight. How worried are you as groups in the eco-conscious space?
Good afternoon, Blessed, and thank you for having me. I believe that I will have said a lot of things, and I think we all need to really reflect as a country where we want to go. As you have said, and also has been reiterated by Awula Sewa, the challenge is that we really do not see the government making this agenda one that it believes in by itself. Because if we really did, you will see the Green Ghana agenda reflected in every fiber of our being as a nation. It was started 3 years ago. And if you look at what has happened 3 years ago, looking at how our forest reserves, how 37 or so forest reserves were given out to mining companies to have access for prospecting. And going in, we saw that they didn't do prospecting. They actually went to mine, and government has not taken any action to bring these companies to book. And every year we say we are planting trees. It casts a shadow on really how committed government is in this campaign. Now, one other thing that is even more interesting is also the fact that...
Hello, Darryl. We'll definitely get to hear from Darrell because there are a number of issues to tackle. In fact, the new ally, which the coalition of civil society groups are seeking to challenge, which has got to do with the law that permits the president to mine in areas deemed to be forest reserves. They are against that. Darrell, we lost you briefly. If you could just take that point for us again.
Yes, I was going to say that last year in around November, December, some of us were in Egypt attending COP27, all with a goal to try and show up international and national level action to preserve our forest reserves, to also take action on climate change. Again, in December, the EPA bosses and some members of government formed a delegation that went to Montreal to also contribute to global biodiversity framework. What is sad is that while we were out there projecting ourselves for engaging in climate action and biodiversity conservation, the same period our government had passed an act that was enabling government to take charge or to have access to forest reserves in this country, contrary to previously existing guidelines that actually gave significant protection to certain categories of forest reserves in this country. And that in itself tells you that the government has no intention to really ensure that Green Ghana becomes a mainstay in the fiber of our society.
Yeah, but when you say that, really government, when you say that, anytime you make that point, Darrell, anytime you make that point, government challenges you to the effect that, well, we keep planting more trees. The last batch that was done, 70% of the trees survived. Now we're scaling up to 10 million trees. So why blame government then?
Well, Blessed, I think the best policy any country can have, and which has also been backed by science, is that you do not destroy existing forests and tell us that you are planting new trees. I will not make the point. If you take into consideration how long it is going to take for these trees to grow, and we should also bear in mind that the kind of trees we are even planting is not more or less, I'll say, replicating the kind of tree species we are destroying in the highly diverse forest ecosystems that we have in this country. There is no way you can compare forest that is lost to planted forest as we are doing now. So let us not get that confused with the fact that we can plant plantations, plant a few horticultural trees along a street, and think that we are planting forest. The two cannot be compared with each other ever. And that is where we are saying that the government is making a mistake if they can go on agenda to destroy forest reserve through active policies like extractive mining and laws like LI 2462, and then come out and say we are planting trees, 10 million trees or 20. You can do all of that. But if you destroy existing forests, the exercise is in futility. And that's one point that needs to be made clear. Government can always have their way by saying, oh, we had 70% survival rate and all of that. But the question is, how does that constitute a forest as we are now destroying? So that is a big question we all need to ask ourselves. There is no way we can replace our several years old forest reserves with trees that we are planting now. If even like, let's just go around and check the height and also the constitution of these trees that have been planted. You know that it doesn't come close to a forest, it doesn't come close, even a small patch of forest that we can say is going to turn into a forest. So this is the kind of distinction we need to have when we are talking about growing and protecting our forest reserve. Planting forests or putting together plantations does not constitute planting or securing forest. The two are totally different.
Well, I guess you're making this point with passion because you're environmentalists, you're conservation groups, and so you believe that the environment has to be protected. But if you're confronted as a politician or as a leader with the need to develop your nation as well, you know that you certainly cannot do that without your natural or mineral resources. What's the alternative for government?
If political decisions do not benefit the people in the long run, then it becomes parochial and it just serves the interest of the politicians whose term ends in either 4 years or 8 years. A nation's lifespan goes way beyond 4 years or 8 years of a political entity or political party that is governing at any point in time. And that is why for very civilized countries or certain developed countries, they have development plans that outlast even 50 years, outlast governments who come in 4 years or 8 years term. And that's why we have said, if you make any decision today that puts the future of other generations at risk, then that decision has nowhere to be called in the interest of the state or in the interest of the people. We should also bear in mind that these politicians are serving the interest of Ghanaians and of citizens. They do not come to serve themselves. So if they come and they are making laws or policies that only seem to serve their interests, then they really do not know why they've been elected. And this is where, as citizens, we need to call them to order. So the issue of whether they are politicians or not, they need to first of all consider the service to the state, a service to the citizens, before they look at their own interest in this sense.
For now, even as we speak, the LI 2462 remains a statute. What more are we likely to see in opposition to this very legislative piece that you've been fighting against?
I think right now CSOs are mobilizing ourselves. Actually, we've mobilized ourselves. We've made some inquiries at the various agencies, invoking the RTI to know how this law came to pass, which institutions participated, what were the objections, what really constituted the spirit behind the LI as test. And we are going to use that to challenge that as far as we can, even if it means that taking this case to court to make sure that the government does the right thing. If a law is not in the interest of the state or in the interest of the people, that law is bad law, and the citizen must take every step to revoke it or get it amended. And that is what we intend to do.
Okay, we'll wait to see what then happens. Thanks for spending some time with us.
It's a pleasure.
Daryl Bosso with Arochat Ghana, joining this whole conversation on the Green Ghana Day. Don't forget that there's a lot happening in Parliament as we speak, where the Speaker of the House, Alban Kingsford Bagbin, is warning that if immediate steps are not taken to reclaim lost forest cover, the country could face serious environmental challenges. The Speaker has been rallying Ghanaians to involve themselves in the project and help save the environment. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante reports from the House.
The Speaker led leadership and staff of Parliament to plant 300 trees within the precinct of Parliament and official residences. The Speaker says if urgent action is not taken to reclaim Ghana's lost forest cover, the country could be in serious danger of environmental catastrophe.
Trees and forests purify the air we breathe, filter harmful particles and pollutants, and ensure the well-being of our citizens, especially those in urban areas where air pollution is very, very high. And I'm sure that you've seen on TV many times that the air in Accra is among the highest in the world. It's not the highest, but among the highest. They say the air pollution in Accra is so bad that we need to act, and act quickly. Trees and forests serve as nature's guardians, regulating water flow, mitigating the risk of flooding, and preserving our precious water bodies. Trees also provide shelter and habitat for countless species, sustaining biodiversity and preserving the delicate balance of our ecosystems. What is more, they have a critical role in combating climate change, as they sequester carbon and contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions.
The minority in Parliament, however, says government must ensure that the Green Ghana project does not become an avenue to enrich a few. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Forestry Committee, Alassane Sohini, such programs in the past have been used to siphon money from the state.
Initiatives such as this, good as they are intended, do not fall victim of corruption or do not become a victim of corruption. It does not become an establishment that is used to siphon money from the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, and this is important because climate finance has to be, optimized.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo says no such
government remains committed to the protection of the environment and will continue to explore all avenues in ensuring that
unprecedented global environmental challenges that threaten our existence and the fate of our planet. The climate crisis is affecting our health, our livelihoods. Human activities have emitted some 2.4 trillion tons of carbon dioxide. The global greenhouse gas emissions need to fall by 7.6% exercise and contribute their share to the fight against climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, my government remains fully committed to protecting our environment and our people and contributing to global efforts to halt climate change. Government will therefore continue to explore all avenues to enhance our forest cover through afforestation and reforestation programs and protect our natural resources through community-based management and conservation initiatives. Today, your contribution is to step out, take a seedling, plant it, and make sure it grows. I encourage each and every one of you, my fellow Ghanaians, and indeed all persons living in Ghana, young and old, men and women, urban and rural, to join me on this historic day in this national tree planting exercise. We're planting for ourselves, our children, our country, and our planet. Together, let us go planting 10 million trees and nurture them to maturity.
And this is a nationwide exercise, so let's head to the Upper East region, where the Upper West Regional Minister, I should say, Dr. Hafiz bin Salih, has urged the youth to embrace the environmental practices, including planting of trees and nurturing them in the country's collective efforts to combat the issue of climate change. A total of some 300,000 trees are expected to be planted in the region as part of the Green Ghana Day celebration. Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
This year's commemoration of the Green Ghana Day in the Upper West region was held at the fort of the Upper West Regional Hospital. Out of the 10 million trees expected to be planted countrywide, 300,000 of them are to be planted in the Upper West region. Leading the charge is the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Salih, and accompanied by some members of the Regional Security Council, representatives of the Water Overlord, and heads of the centralized departments. Also present at the function were personnel from some selected security agencies and learners from some basic schools in the Wa municipality. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Salih noted that agriculture is the mainstay of the people in the region, and therefore their livelihoods depends on the environment. He therefore lauded the Green Ghana initiative of President Akufo-Addo, which he stated that will be of enormous benefit to the people of the region due to its proximity to the desert. Dr. bin Salih commended some chiefs in the region for taking giant steps to protect the environment, including the ban on the commercial production of charcoal in their respective communities.
I wish to urge the good people of the Upper West region, particularly women and the youth, to embrace sound environmental practices, including passion to plant and nurture trees in our collective efforts to sustain the environment for the good of our generations and generations after us. Mention can be made of the recent announcement of the ban on the production of charcoal in commercial quantities by the paramount chief of the Polymer traditional area of the Sisala West District, Goru Usman Nampa II, during the celebration of the 2023 edition of the Gangawi Festival. I highly commend him and all others for their bold initiative taken to protect our environment, and assure him of the government's support to enforce the ban.
Using the United Nations Convention report to combat desertification, Dr. Binsali revealed that 1/3 of the country's land area is affected by desertification. In the case of the Upper West region, it is worse due to its proximity to the Sahara Desert.
This poses a major threat to food and energy security. It is estimated in the same report that about 69% of the total land surface area is prone to severe soil erosion. Against this backdrop, the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo took drastic and pragmatic measures, including the ban on illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey.
Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amisie, commended the government for the initiative, disclosing that a greater number of the trees planted last year at the hospital had survived.
We were blessed as a hospital to receive 950 trees planted to mark an occasion exactly like this 1 year ago. If you look around, many of the trees have survived. I can say with a lot of happiness that over 80% of the trees have survived. Even though the trees have not grown fully, they have added to the beauty of our edifice.
Upper West Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission, Godfred Kwashiga, appealed to the participants not to turn their backs on the trees planted, but nurture them to grow.
Let us also be reminded that tree planting is an event. It is a process. So after today, let us continue to care for the trees we plant, ensuring that they are well nurtured and become well established.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wow.
And back here in the studio, we are taking a break on the polls. We will return with some more stories. Please stay with us. Back, members of the National Food Suppliers Association have served notice they will picket the National Food Buffer Stock Company headquarters next week. The suppliers are unhappy about the delays in the payment of some supplies made to government. 3 weeks ago, the suppliers raised concerns about the delays and issued an ultimatum for the immediate payment to happen. But it appears that that promise by the buffer stock company is yet to be fulfilled. The suppliers say the hope of getting their funds back is waning as they are struggling to keep their businesses running. In the studio with me now is Kokwe Medome, who's spokesperson for the suppliers. The last time we were having a conversation, Kokwe, was full of hopes by your members and by extension you, the leadership of the group, that government will honor the obligation, but that is not materializing. Have you made your checks to find out if you just have to wait a few more days for the payments to hit your account?
Good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, the last time we held a press conference, we were thinking government will come forth with plans as to how and when our members will be paid. But we have not heard anything though. But let me make the point that we met with the Minister of Education.
Yeah, I recall you telling us about that engagement.
The reason why we didn't take that seriously is that we have heard that song for the past 2 years. It's been the same thing. We are making plans to pay, the arrangements to pay, and it's been like that, and nothing has ever happened. That's why we knew that nothing was going to happen. And so we are stuck to our guns. On Tuesday, we'll be picketing, and nothing will stop us. We've written to the police. We have complied with the Public Order Act. And then, even though the regional command was not in support, they said there are a lot of bookings.
Okay. Yet they'll give you their,
No, they said they're not going to.
Okay, so they don't even want to agree with you.
Yes, they said we should change and then reschedule to July. But we cannot wait for another month to demonstrate, because we've been asking government to come to our side to honor his commitment under the contract.
Can't you find another way by mounting pressure on government? Because already some would say there's good faith on the part of the minister who's engaged you and giving you assurances that the funding will be released or has been released. So the work is with the buffer stock.
That good faith we have with government is defeated. We have crossed that threshold. There's no trust between us and the government anymore. And we have even lost trust with our customers. The people that we source for funding, the people that we go to source for the foods that we supply, they no longer supply us. They no longer believe in our credibility. And so we have lost confidence in the government promises to honor whatever promises it's given us. It's not happening. And you ask, why wouldn't we do another? Yes, yes, there are no meetings. We are not interested in meetings again because we have held meetings. We are locked up. We've been locked up for hours in meetings with the minister, the buffer stock CEO, but nothing has come out. And so we are not interested.
Okay, well, where do you suspect the problem to be coming from, really? Is it much more an issue about the buffer stock, or there's more to this? Yes,
there's some sort of opacity in dealing with these issues with government. The reason being that when we went to the Minister of Education, he told us that he has paid 90% of what we owe, what government owes us. We went to the buffer stock, the CEO said, at one breath, he said he had loan on his book that he need to repay, and so he had used part of our money to pay the loan. And then when the media called him, he said, oh, he's making plans to pay. So there's no straightforward statement coming from government. We have written to the Office of the President, Chief of Staff. We haven't heard anything from any of them. And so I think making this loud and picketing will draw the government's attention.
When was the last time you engaged the CEO of the buffer stock company?
The last time was before our press conference. That was when we engaged the CEO of buffer stock. And after our press conference, we've never had any opportunity to meet the CEO, but rather we met with the Minister of Education, who said the Finance Minister had traveled and then he'll be back. And when he comes back, he's going to see to how you're going to get paid. And he made us to write some letter and then reminding them of the
need for the clearance.
The need for the clearance.
Right, okay.
But I was not impressed because the money has been with them for 2 years. And 2 years, this is not the time for writing letter. This is the time for actually doing payments. Because at one point in time, we're giving a week. Another point, we're giving a month. Another point, we're giving 3 months. At a point in time, we're told that the buffer stock CEO had gone to Mecca. We should wait. We had waited for all these stories to be told. We had waited. We had done everything we need to do. And nothing has come out. And that is why we're picketing. And this picketing, we are not just picketing for a day. We're going to be there on Tuesday till we are paid. So it means we are going to be there from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and we are going home and coming back to resume picketing the next day. We're going to be picketing till we are paid our money.
But that's surprising, knowing the kind of service you render to the education sector. This is the same sector that you provide and supply food items to the various schools at the regional district level. What will happen then if you're spending all of your time here in Accra?
That is the challenge. That is the challenge, and that is why government must come in. Because, you see, apart from we taking the money from government without interest, we are spending so much to claim our money, which is not fair. It is totally not fair if this government actually mean to sustain its policy of free SHS. The free SHS can never be sustained without us. We agree, our kids are those in school. We cannot frustrate the system, and that's not our intention. But our business must also be sustained. As I'm speaking to you, most of our members are owing the banks. They have used their properties as collateral to get the money to finance their businesses. Some of us go to source for the goods on credit from farmers. And these farmers are on our necks. There's nothing we can do but to pay the money. Where are we going? And my brother, government is not interested in paying interest on the money. After 2 years of keeping our working capital, government is not paying.
Are you interested in the interest?
We are very much interested
in just having your cash back.
We are interested in everything. But as it is now, we don't have that interest payment in our contract schedule. But I think our lawyers can do us a good job if we want to claim interest. But as it is now, we want what we have with government now so that we can be able to pay our creditors. So we can be able to redeem some credibility, some little credibility that we need to.
But why not pursue just the money that's with government? I mean, already are not able to settle your debts, mounting pressure for interest. No, it will be a challenge.
Yes, we will be interested if interest will be paid. But if you read all the statement, we've not asked for interest yet. But if you go beyond this picketing and we have to go to court, we have to be paying legal fees. And so we cannot go to court to ask for only the money government owes us, but we need to be...
Okay, so since you're talking about the legal argument, are you considering going to court?
It's an option.
Yeah, why not opt for that instead of this decision to picket at the buffer stock? And of course, they could drive you out of their premises, isn't it?
No, I don't think they can drive us. Well, it's up to them, but we're going to be there.
It could happen.
We're going to be there. I mean, we have informed police, we have complied with the Public Order Act. We are within the premise of the law to do what we intend to do on Tuesday. But to think of using other options, yes, this is an option. The court is also an option. But this is what we can afford for now. So we want to stretch it to the limit. Beyond it, we'll proceed to court on the advice of our lawyers.
We've seen pictures of how terrible, in some cases, you find the school feeding program at the senior high school level being, with students struggling in some schools. And I need to stress on the fact that some schools, because it may not be all schools, where they're having challenges in terms of feeding or getting adequate food supply to even feed the students. By withdrawing your services, you're just worsening the plight of these students.
Let's get it clear. We've not withdrawn our services. Currently, buffer stock has been stripped of that responsibility of awarding supply contracts to suppliers. Now we are now doing supply through commodity exchange, and then the Minister of Education takes responsibility of paying. So that is settled. We are still doing what we've been doing. We're still supplying. But government is owing us 2021-2022 academic year supply. That's what we are interested in collecting. And see, let the point be stressed that continuing keeping the money with government would frustrate a continuous supply. Because we need that money. Sometimes when you send the goods out, you need a stock because there are emergency supplies we do. The goods are nowhere but with us. So it is better the government come forth with what we have with them and give us so we can sustain the supply.
Are you threatening that you may cut the supply chains if nothing is coming forth?
We might get there because it is not our doing. Our capacity to continue supply to buffer stock or Minister of Education is threatened. Not we the suppliers are threatening cutting supply, but the mere action or commission of government not to pay us or delaying our payment itself is frustrating the supply. Because if you don't give me money to continue my business, I'll be frustrated at a point. Because listen, as at the time we supplied maize, it was 160 Ghana cedis. Today, a bag of maize is 600, 700 cedis. Beans was 500. Today, beans is 1,200. So the question is, if those monies are given to us, are we able to supply the same quantity we supplied 2 years? The question is no. And we are not going to be given interest on the money the government is holding. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it is not us who will want to frustrate the supply process. But the government's own action is frustrating the system.
Some of your colleagues were paid.
Yes. Some of our colleagues were paid, but the distribution or the disbursement, there was no equity in the disbursement.
Why say so?
Why I say so? Because according to the Minister of Education, he has released 90% of the money they owe to us. Yet, that 90% has not gotten to us. The reason being, some members who are also supplying, the managers of buffer stock have interest in those supply. So when those monies are disbursed into their account, they have a discretion to choose who and who gets what.
So what's your evidence on that?
Yes. I know you agree with me. That
I am not agreeing.
I'm coming. You agree to what I'm about to say.
You agree for evidence. That's
I'm coming.
What I need.
I'm coming. I'll give you the evidence. I'm saying that. You see, it is a known secret that some of our members have 100%. I'll give you. Some have 2% and some have 3%. Some have 90% and some have 100%. And there has never been any reason, Prof, as to why some took 2% and some took 3% and some took 100% and some took 90%. What could probably be the reason?
Yeah,
when we are all supplying at the same prices.
They decide who to settle, isn't it?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. It is based on interest
but
of the managers.
You're not able to prove that aspect. That's why I'm driving the point to.
You see, the fact that a thief broke into my room and stole my property, I have not caught the thief, but there has been stealing in my room. I'm saying that the disbursement has never been proportionate. And that can only be influenced by interest of whoever is doing the disbursement.
But why would limited nature of the resources and the fact that
so if it is limited,
90% disbursement was done, clearly means that there would be shortage at some point.
So if 90% disbursement is done, and I'm owing 2 billion, and government is owing me 2 million Ghana cedis, why give somebody who owes 1 million a full payment and give me 5%?
Is that what's happening?
That's what is happening.
There are some whose amounts may be higher, which government is saying.
That's what I'm saying, that if I am owing 2 million and somebody is owing 1 million, the person who owes 1 million is given full payment. The one who owes 2 million is given 5% of the payment.
Probably because your amount is much more higher.
I'm happy you are saying probably, but that is not equity. Because if government owes me 1 million and owes another one 2 million, the liability on the 2 million, on the one whose money is with government to the tune of 2 million, is higher than the liability of the one who...
The administrator would also be looking at the ease at paying the amounts.
Say that again.
The ease at paying the amount involved.
I haven't heard what...
It will be much more expensive to pay the person who owes 2 million as compared to the person who owes...
My brother, let's be real here. You are giving an amount to disburse to a group of people who all owe you money. Proportionality is needed in disbursing that money.
And who is asking for that, or who is saying that?
I am the one saying that. That situation is the one saying it. It's not grounded
in law, is it?
It's grounded in law. Not in law, by logic, by common sense.
Yeah, that's the point you're making.
That you are giving an amount to pay, an amount to disburse, and you've not adopted any model as to how you are distributing, but the only model is your discretion.
Yeah, it's allowed.
And that discretion is influenced by interest, because there is no justification. We have never been told why some have taken full amount and some have taken lesser amount.
That's what I'm saying.
Some have taken
higher amount. Where's the evidence of proving the fact that there's interest at play here?
The evidence is we, the suppliers. The evidence is I am the one supplying. The evidence is I am in the business. And there's no one who can come and tell you what is happening in buffer stock or suppliers apart from me. I'm telling you, I'm giving you a bare fact.
Without evidence.
A bare fact.
Without evidence.
See, the evidence, let me make a point here.
You're telling me, I mean, except that you're asking us to take your word for it.
Evidence can be oral, depending on my tangent of argument. Okay. I don't need to produce document to prove evidence. It depending on the weight of what I'm telling you. I'm saying that buffer stock discretion, exercise of discretion of that disbursement can only be influenced by interest, because nothing can be proffered as to the explanation why some have taken 5% out of 21 million. They owe the person 21 million. He was given 500,000. Somebody was owing 3 million. He took all the money. My brother, I don't want to hold brief.
And don't forget that you have distinct contracts with a buffer stock company.
Which is what? The contract stipulates that in 60 days, when you submit your invoice, it should be paid.
It may be for your case, but you're not sure of what the next party's contract is.
No, we only have, if we watch all the members, we have a templated form of contract.
That's what you're saying.
That is what is reality. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, right. We all have the same format of contract, the same pricing, the same wording, except with the company names of the individuals involved. And so there's no differentials in the wording of the contract, but the same wording and the same donations and everything. And so we expect to be treated fairly and equitably. when a 90% of our total amount is dispersed, you don't say because somebody is your cousin or you have one particular interest in one person, so the person gets 100%. There is no justification. There can never be any justification for allotting 100% for somebody, allotting 5% for another, and allotting a meager 1% to somebody else. It doesn't augur well for continuous supply for our business. And it bringing a whole lot of confusion among us because we are accusing each other of trying to betray the association, when in the actual fact, it is the managers of the buffer stock, it is the managers of the free SHS people who are really frustrating the system. And that's where I need to be very candid with you. You'll be very helpful to us.
I get that. When next do you plan to meet the buffer stock CEO?
Well, we are open to meet buffer stock CEO any day, even tonight. We'll be willing to meet. We are open for discussions. We are not confrontational at all. These are serious issues we are talking about. If today we are invited to come and sit and monies be given to us, why not? Just that we don't want deliberations or issues. We don't want promises.
Oh, you don't want to negotiate?
No, we don't want negotiations. Say 2 years, my brother. How much is the interest rate today? Can we continue to negotiate when our interest rate is compiling, is going high? We cannot. There needs to be payment at a point in time. There needs to be a cut of fake, useless promises made to we the members. That point has to come to an end. That's what we want to drive home.
But we need to go. What message would you want to leave for stakeholders and those perhaps who are watching us now who are in a position of helping solve this challenge?
Yes, they know the issues already. And in fact, the fact that they are owing us, they're not controverting the fact that they are owing us. All I can tell them is that we are all for the good of the free SHS policy. We all want to make sure that it becomes a success story. We are stakeholders. Government should treat us as a stakeholders. Government should treat us as people who are interested to ensure this program of free SHS is sustained. We can only do that if our monies are given to us for us to continue. I want to plead with government. We are not fighting government. We are not fighting buffer stock. We are not going to the premises of buffer stock to fight. We are going with our bare hands, with our placard, to make our case that we need our money. Even though police says they are not going to be there, but we are going to be there. And we are not there. We are grown-ups. We are not there. We are not hooligans.
Yeah, but you need protection too.
Protections from who? We are just going to demand for our money. We don't need protection from anybody. What protection from where? We are not going to fight. We are not going to engage in any confrontations. All we want to go and do and to get them attend to us, to get our money to us. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping that next week, even before that, you're hopeful that your problems could be solved.
We are hopeful. We are hopeful. We are hopeful.
Okay. We'll wait to see what then happens. And that's Koko Amedome, who speaks for the Food Suppliers Association, asking the buffer stock to settle their arrears. We take you to the Ahafo region because the regional minister, George Wachi, says the completion of a 49 million cedis reconstruction of the Goru water supply system would end the backlash received from residents when about 20 gallons of safe water would be accessible per day per person. He applauds the government for bringing some funds to commence the project expected to cater for the water needs of the community, which has about 30 people in mind. Now, Precious Semovo has been following up on that story and now reports.
Safe and accessible water is a major requirement for every growing community, and Ahafo's capital, Goru, is no exception. And to meet the growing demands, the existing 10 kilometers water system required an upgrade. The Community Water and Sanitation Agency redesigned the old system to 90 kilometers of distribution pipelines and 12 kilometers of transmission pipelines to provide 100 liters of safe water per day to each resident of Goru, also capable of serving 20 years of projected demand. When completed in 2 years at over 49 million cedis, the system would operate on hybrid power with standpipes fitted with prepaid dispensers, among others. Walanyo Kwejosiabe CEO of CWSA, spoke at the project startup and handing of sites to 2 contractors at Goru.
The transmission will take care of all the boreholes that we have. We will take the water into new tanks. We used to have a 90 cubic meter fiberglass tank, and then also 45 cubic meters of concrete tanks. But we'll replace all of that with 2 new 200 cubic meter concrete tanks. And the pipes we are using, it has life in excess of 50 years. All of these developments, because of the new status of Goru, will require potable water, and that is all we are doing.
He appealed for the cooperation of residents for successful completion.
The delays sometimes can come from the community. Some of the pipelines may pass through somebody's compound. We will need land for the tanks sites, for the borehole sites. We don't want a situation where some people will come and say, okay, we won't agree, even though we have already drilled the boreholes. So we need their cooperation and assistance and support. If there are problems, they should talk to Omar Henning, they should talk to the regional minister, they should talk to the regional director of CWSA, and then we will resolve it. We do not want too many disagreements on this. It can delay the projects.
Our Regional Minister, George Boachi, in applauding the government for providing the funds, relishes the relief the completion of the project will bring to the community.
Goru has gained a new status as a regional capital. And as a result of that, we have influx of people from all over the country to Goru. And so there's too much pressure on the existing water system. As a result, it is not sufficient to satisfy the whole community. So this has come at the right time, and it's a big relief to us. Water is life, and wherever water is not sufficient, definitely there will be a backlash from the community. And now that this system is going to be put in place, I know the backlash will no longer come. Our appeal to them, give the contractors all the needed support so that they are able to finish within the 24 months.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Goru.
And the Member of Parliament for Nalerigo Gambaga, Amaji Baba Seidu Isifu, has pledged to reconstruct the Kofori Junior High School that collapsed 2 months ago by a rainstorm. Education is said to be grinding to a halt in the community following the collapse of the school block, as teaching and learning are being conducted under trees. The Member of Parliament says an arrangement is underway for the construction of a new classroom block for the pupils in the area. Alhaji Baba Seidu accused the government of neglecting the needs of his constituents. Ilyasu Tanko has more.
The mud structure was constructed in 2003 through a self-help initiative by members of the community. According to the residents, they took up the initiative after several failed efforts to get authorities to build a junior high school block in the community. After the construction, the facility was approved and admitted as a public junior high school in the Eastman Presi municipality. Sadly, however, according to the residents, since its adoption as a public school, no serious effort has ever been made to construct a befitting classroom block for the pupils. The facility, therefore facing years of neglect, eventually collapsed in April 2 months ago after a violent rainstorm hit the area.
We have nothing to do again, but we have tried. Since 2003 up to today, we don't get any single block. And we don't know how to do. We don't know whether the government have been forget about it or we announce us. We don't know.
The situation has displaced the school children, among them candidates preparing to write their basic education certificate examination, and classes and other academic works are now being conducted under trees.
They feel lazy to come to school. And also their parents also decide to send them to farms and also give them out for marriage because they don't even see anything good in the school.
Your father don't accept us to come to school again. So now they say they will let us go to bush or farm.
The residents say the municipal assembly authorities are yet to visit the community and address the challenge after the incident.
If I have my own power, I would have let them remove this. I would have removed the education director from the this level. Why am I saying so? You can't sit here and these things are all have been happening and you are so silent yourself You are so comfortable with yourself and you don't mind it at all.
The Member of Parliament Alhaji Babasaidu Yusufu, who was however in the community, has pledged to build a new school block for the children.
For centuries now, that community does not have a school. Applicants came out to do some math structure, and that is where they have their teaching and learning. And I had to stop my campaign to go there to sympathize with them. And as I'm talking to you, I've made them to make some estimates for me to see how we can collaborate with the community to construct a primary school, a befitting primary school for them. And also we want to use my network with other philanthropists to see how they can come in to help us with this predicament. So I was there.
Member of Parliament also accused the government of neglecting the needs of his constituents.
It is not about tokenism. The government is doing tokenism, and that is not acceptable. And that is our predicament in this constituency. As if we don't exist. As if we don't exist. And it's a worrying situation for me. So I'll continue to do my work. I'll continue to leverage on my network. I'll continue to put pressure on them for us to register the kind of development we are looking for.
Elias Sutanko reporting for Joy News.
Well, time now for some updates on the National Science and Maths Quiz, because they came, they saw, and they were conquered. That's the story of the self-taught students of Bia Senior High School Technical School during the qualifying stages of National Science and Maths Quiz in the Western North region. Without a dedicated teacher and close to no reference material, the students of Bia SHTS took charge of their own education and prepared for the competition. Despite ending the contest with a negative score, they emerged as a symbol of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. My colleague Michael Niashali has the rest of the story.
You've been learning all day long, waited for this moment to come sit here and do our best on stage, hoping we'll get to the national stage.
An honest confession of sleepless nights by students of Bia SHTS preparing to contest in the Western North qualifiers. But the contest proved to be a very difficult hurdle.
Yes, Bia.
Recessive.
That is incorrect. Bia, a rectangle with adjacent sides congruent is a square.
It's a false statement. It's a false statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, the image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, B, coordinate 6, 8.
True statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, the image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect.
Navigating the path to representing their school proved to be a formidable challenge, as the students encountered numerous hurdles along the way. Without the guidance of a teacher, the contestants were left to their own devices, taking turns to teach themselves.
We don't have menu materials that you'll be learning, so usually we teach ourselves. Like this guy is good at the chemistry aspect and biology aspect, so you go and teach me. I'm general, I learn everything, but it's good. That's its aspect for him. We used to teach ourselves. You go there, teach, we discuss, and like solve further questions under them and know how our stand will be. Our master was like quite busy. He used to come and have a time with us, but We learned ourselves and we've tried. Yeah.
Preparation was, it was, let's say, to the students, it wasn't enough for us. And we have to devote our time and help each other so that we develop that collaboration so that when we come on stage, we will be. Our masters became so reluctant and we didn't even know that we would come for the contest. So it was impromptu that we are coming for it. So what happened on the stage, those over there, those who are watching us shouldn't be surprised of it. It's a triumph. We have tried our best and God determines what it would be. So if I didn't get the last, I would have been the first, but it has turned the other way around. So I would say that I'll thank the Almighty God for that.
In a disheartening turn of events, their efforts culminated in a score that defied expectations.
I was hoping to end this contest without anyone owing me, but Bia is still owing me. So Bia, next year when you come, God willing, I'll take my points, okay? So at the end of the contest, these are the scores. Bia had negative 10 points. Bibiani Senior High Technical School had 11 points. And St. Joseph Senior High School had 30 points. Bia, I'll be generous. I'll give you an early New Year present. So by the end of the year, or by the beginning of next year, your debt will be written off.
Even I don't know what to say. We are overwhelmed with what you just did here. We've tried, but it didn't work out.
We'll make sure we prepare our juniors so that when they also come, they'll come and power the school. Then next year we are coming with a horns now. So as soon as we start the contest, you see the color of the blue color shining into stars.
Their journey may not have resulted in a victory in terms of points, but their commitment to learning, teamwork, and never giving up serves as an inspiring example.
I wish the teachers there, like more especially the science teachers, they'll beef them up like with a lot of teachers to assist the students. When it comes to our school, we having I think 2 chemistry teachers, 1 physics, like not enough for such a big school.
Today, it is Bia SHTS. However, many low-performing schools share the same struggle. It goes beyond preparing for the National Science and Maths quiz. This school's story reminds us that success is not solely defined by numbers, but by the invaluable lessons learned and the strength gained through facing obstacles head-on.
Bia, alpha particles are highly ionizing.
True statement.
That is correct.
For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Okay, we are taking a break here on The Pulse. Please stay with us. We'll bring you some more stories. And you're welcome back. Tributes continue to pour in for the late Multimedia Group's lead camera technician, Modestus Zame. Final funeral rites and burial services were held earlier today with family and friends paying their last respect. Modestus Zame passed on a month ago after a short illness. Here are some of his colleagues sharing some fond memories of the departed.
If we live for the Lord. And if we die for the Lord. Whether we live or die, we are for the Lord. Romans 14 verse 8. This is not the story I would have loved to tell. I met Pakus, as I called him, at NAFTI in 2005 when I joined as a fresh year student. There were lots of people. He was in level 200 and I had just joined level 100. There were lots of students who were seniors, but Pakus stood out as he always does. He actually organized a salsa lessons for us every Tuesday evening, and this happened without a single fail. No matter where he was, he would come around and teach us. Nobody had instructed him, but he felt we needed that exposure. There were times he would take us to African Regent Hotel to actually have a proper feel of how people do it outside, and that was so useful to us because it exposed us to the other side of life. And what I loved most about him was his bear hugs. When I hugged him, I felt like I was kept safe from the harms of the world. And for these and many other that I cannot probably say with time constraints, I would love to tell the world that Pacus was a human being. To his loved ones, I would want all of us to hold our peace and trust that there are times God takes away the good people to keep them safe from the harms of the world. Pacus, Damrefedie, Pacus, Hedenwe, may the Lord keep you until we meet again.
So here we are standing in front of the lifeless body of Modestus, and I felt he was sleeping, but then in reality he's gone. So I had wanted to touch him, but I stood still, and so I moved closer, and then I saw the inscription, Modestus Zame. That is when I realized that, in fact, I have lost my friend, and he's gone for good. And I felt very sad because I least expected that Modestus would die at this young age. People are saying good things about Modestus. He's done his part. As a department, we will forever miss him. Because we spend most of our time in the office, we became like brothers, and almost every day we talk to each other. And it's going to be very difficult to close that chapter. Indeed, he's dead and gone, but in our minds and in our hearts, Modestus still lives. I happened to watch one of our videos, Modestus and myself on the stage at National Theatre. I was a Joy Prime production with Ghana Police and their counterparts in Barbados, and I remember we were on stage having a discussion, and anytime I watch that video, I just ask myself, so I don't get to do this with Modestus again. It's quite sad, but to the wife and kids, the mom, the two brothers, and the rest of the family, we share your pain, but we will not leave you in this. Modestus is a brother to us, so we are committed to the family. As a team, we'll come together and we'll try our best to do what Modestus would have wished for his kids. To the camera team, I know it's a painful loss, but we'll come back together stronger. And the values that Modestus shared with us, we need to exhibit it. It's tough, but like I said, life goes on. Let us encourage each other and do what Modestus will do better, so that when he looks down on earth, he'll be glad that indeed he's left a legacy.
of experience when it comes to death, but Modestus' death has touched me. May his soul rest in peace.
Modestus will be greatly missed. He will be greatly missed. I miss him. Yeah. I miss Modest sometimes because the way he calls me sometimes we talk about work, we talk about stuff, talk about adding value, the way the department is going, so many things, and I'll miss that, and I'll miss that figure that challenges me to do more. I feel sad. The figure that he represented, to some people, he was a father, a leader, a brother, a friend, somebody they share jokes with, a lot. Now it's left for the department to stand together and carry this legacy that he has left behind forward. We have to do this together, knowing that he's here with us, and we can only pray that God, wherever his soul is, we pray that God should protect and bless and grant him peace.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. May the soul of the faithful departed rest in peace. We talk politics before we go because one of the forerunners in the presidential race of the New Patriotic Party, that's the former Trades and Industry Minister Alan Kojo-Tremating, has launched a portal aiming to raise funding for his presidential bid. That exercise took place here in the Greater Accra region, and there are more individuals, rank and file of the party, declaring their support for the former Trade and Industry Minister as he embarks on a new campaign to raise funding ahead of the tough contest which is before him. And there are two contests ahead. The first is the Super Delegates Conference that will sieve the number from 10 to 5 before the main contest, allowing delegates of the governing party to decide who will be the next presidential candidate. Let's bring in Zame who also has thrown his weight behind the former Trade and Industry Minister. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. Briefly, tell us, first of all, what's inspiring your decision to join and to declare support for the former Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Tremating. Hello, sir, if you're with me, I'm just asking what's informing your decision to support the Alan campaign. We're having challenges hearing you. If you could just unmute for us so we can get the point you're making, Mr. Crab. Some challenges. Mr. Crab, if you're with me, I was just asking what's informing your decision. We'll get to that conversation later for you. Apologies for that. But all fingers are not the same. But that's not the only variation in life. We know that, of course, we're giving you the final episode and the Remembrance series that we've been bringing to you on one of Ghana's illustrious exports, Ama Ata Edo, and with each day serving us a completely different experience. In the last short of our Remembrance series on the Professor, we'll bring you extracts of a poem, The Days, read by Ghanaian filmmaker and cultural activist Akofai Jani.
These days, All the days are not equal, said the old village wall. Sunday starts the week, then Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday for midweek, Thursday to follow, Friday comes after. Some days that are sunny and quite warm all the way. Some days are green with the greenness of leaves. Some days are gold, they glitter, they shine. There are days that are long, like the steps of a giant. There are days that feel so wrong, you could hit them with a gong. There are days that are tired, like an old age, weak and tired. Some days are longer than the neck of a giraffe. Other days are shorter than the finger of a hand. There are days which are happy. They can laugh out loud. But some days are grouchy. They snarl and they bite. There are days that feel good, like sleeping in mother's arms. There are days that are bad. They hurt. They drag. Some days are full of ice. Other days are just mouths. Some days crawl like snails. Other days run like hares. There are days that are boastful like champions before a fight. But some days are very shy like our first morning at school. There are strange days and busy, very sour and hard to bite. Yes, some days are easy, full of sugar, fruit and spice. There are days that are bouncy, like a football on a field. There are days that stand still, like soldiers on parade. Some days can sing. Some days only scream. There are blue days with red streaks and brown days with black spots. Each day has hours of 10, 10, and 4. But each day is different in one way or more. All the days are not equal, said the old village wall.
And that's all we have for you in this package of The Pulse. We'll see you next week. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com. Lots of stories there for you to catch up on. I'm Blessed Suga. Keep watching the Joy News channel.